That it's one hug per panel. So it's been spent.
Wow. Hug currency.
But you do have you have the autograph booth as well as photo ops.
That's true.
So
plenty of hugs there.
Hugs for me after the panel. They're easy to come by. I'm cuddly. What can we say? And Rebecca Mendes Mike.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm
That's
Annette.
powerful microphones.
She's Annette.
Yeah, I'm Annette, so if you want to hop on my back, I'm down.
All right. I think that qualifies as a hug.
It does, yeah.
But
Okay,
I thank you for being here because my costume makes sense this year because of you. So thank you for that. You know, everything
You're so welcome.
happens.
I love helping people make sense of their costumes.
Yeah. And everything happens for a reason, they say. You know?
That's right. And everything is connected.
And there you go. I wanted to know your most memorable fan interaction, like funny or weird, or your most memorable.
Memorable.
Yep.
Oh man.
Not so many fans.
I think it's the choosing of just one that makes it difficult.
That's the thing. I don't know. I can't.
No
nothing's
tattoo
coming
of
yet.
you somewhere weird, or
I mean, it's weird because you see so much. The spectrum is so wide, and I'm loving and accepting of all of it. So nothing stands out in a way that's like that was crazy. You know what I mean? It's like.
Yeah.
I guess that means that I'm fortunate enough to have been interacting with people as fans for long enough to kind of see a spectrum and not really think anything's weird. Right? So I feel fortunate for that.
maybe I can be in one of those where you can hop on my back is something.
Sure, I've done that so many
that
times.
one too.
And one begets another, because then one sees it and they're like, well, I want that.
Yeah.
Literally had someone today show me a photo of one that I had already done. Like, can we do this? Like, sure.
Thank you
I
very
think
much.
the funniest thing is like people asking me to sign their body and then they get that tattooed. That is like, fuck man, that's a commitment. And also like the pressure on me at that point, because if I write my signature in a way that's not good, like it's forever, that's always a funny one.
I just wanted to know why would the Lord... I'm sorry, this is distracting. So, why would you consider The Lord of the Rings a decade-defining movie?
Why would I consider it a decade-defining?
Like a classic.
I don't know if that's for me to answer. I'm too close to it to answer that question. I don't even know that I would call it a decade-defining movie. Look, I'll say this. I think what we achieved, and by we I mean everyone working on the films, which is over 2,000 people, was unprecedented for its time. It was also one of the last big epics of its kind to be shot on film. So much of what you see in that movie is practically there. And the scope and scale of it was beyond anything that had been shot up until that stage. So just from a sheer sort of accomplishment level, and the fact that it hasn't really aged, like it holds up really well, I think is kind of extraordinary. And credit is given to Tolkien for the stories that are universal that everybody can relate to. These are characters that everyone can find a bit of themselves in all of them, and I think that those stories are the enduring stories. There's a reason why people continue to discover that book and go back to it time and time again because they're so rich, and there's so much to be drawn from them. So I think I can speak to all of that, and I think in that way it will always be a classic. But in terms of what it became, it sort of is way beyond our expectations, and it sort of became its own thing in pop culture that we couldn't have anticipated.
And a quick question, do you like poutine?
Do I like poutine? Is the sky blue? Do we breathe air? God. I was looking up poutine places this morning. I'm like, where am I going tonight? Yeah, I love poutine's the best. It's great. I've been. It's awesome. It rules. I mean, it's a classic. It's 24 hours, right? Yeah, man. It's great, and the beer's really good there too. Okay, I've only been there at like pre-3 a.m. And it's always a hell of a line too. All right.
I'm just jealous that I have the physique of the person who loves poutine, whereas you do not.
Oh man.
All right, over at Amanda's mic, it's Dr. Manhattan.
All right. Paul, welcome to Montreal.
Hello.
I'd like
Are
to
you
go
excited about the new Watchmen series?
Absolutely.
Dude, how good does that look? I'm a little worried because it's not a direct adaptation of the book, so who knows where it's going to go? But man, it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah. Sorry. I know. Hey, this isn't. I'm not supposed to interview you, sir. I apologize.
My question actually goes back to a movie that we did many years ago called The Good Son.
Ah, yeah.
And I was wondering how a child actor can deal with doing those dark stories.
Yeah. Well, look, how old was I? I was 12, I think. Yeah, 12. I mean, I remember reading the script and thinking, oh, this is awesome, because it's kind of like a horror movie. I'd seen my first horror movies when I was like 7. I have an older brother who's 7 years older than me who would rent horror movies with his friends, bring them home, and like sneak me in to watch them, which is awesome for a younger brother. Not so cool for my parents, but they didn't know most of the time. So I was exposed to that kind of stuff pretty young, and I loved horror movies. So look, I think I was aware of what we were making, that it was contextual within this thing. So I wasn't freaked out by the behavior of Macaulay Culkin's character or the things that we were doing. I saw it as a movie. So I think from like a reality perspective of like, is that at all traumatizing for a young person? It wasn't. It was actually really fun. What was more traumatizing was hanging off of the side of a cliff, which I really did do. We were in harnesses. It was right over Lake Superior in Michigan. So that bit at the end of the movie, we actually flew to Michigan to shoot it. No, it wasn't Michigan. It was Minnesota. Just outside of Duluth. It was really cold, and we were actually hanging off of that cliff. And my mom was like, so what is there, like, what are the safety measures? They're like, oh, there's like boats down there. Boats? No. Like below our feet were rocks. And the boats were like out there. So if we'd actually fallen, yeah, it wouldn't have been good. Yeah, so that was more traumatizing than the material.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael. I really love all the Lord of the Rings films, and especially I really enjoyed the film The Ice Storm.
Okay.
And my question is, what is like working with the cast of The Ice Storm?
Oh man, that was an incredible experience. It's Sigourney Weaver, Kevin Kline, Christina Ricci was in the film. I mean, the cast was so extraordinary. And for me, up until that point, I was still I guess technically a child actor. I was 15, I think, or 16 when we made that. And it was a real sort of transitional film for me. The material was pretty dark and very adult. I had this incredible opportunity to be surrounded by these extraordinary actors of various disciplines, and a director in Ang Lee who really kind of created an environment for the actors to thrive and to sort of work on the backstories of their characters. It was just such an interesting process that I've never really engaged in, and it was really influential for the rest of my life as an actor. And yeah, it was a truly memorable experience. I loved it, and everybody in the film was so amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi. My question is about both Dirk Gently's and Wilfred. I feel they have like a little bit similar premises, at least on the point of view of your character, which is like a little bit disillusioned, and then gets like into a kind of a crazy story.
Yeah, he's like in over his head with someone that's like the influencing figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you approach these two characters? Because they're obviously different.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Ryan and Wilfred is struggling in other ways, not just with Wilfred. He's also just struggling with his own mental health, his happiness, his direction in life. So that, yeah, there was sort of, that was, I guess, the primary difference. Playing him and figuring him out. Psychologically really different. Todd, I mean, we meet Todd in a kind of fucked up period in his life too. A little aimless. And Dirk comes into his life and kind of offers him an opportunity to change his life. And I guess the main difference is there's a lot more sort of proactive choices that Todd makes. Todd's kind of an asshole as well. Ryan isn't. Todd has made really poor decisions in his life. And that's a really major difference. And it was understanding that, and then, you know, kind of going on this journey with Todd as he sort of realizes all of the things that he had done in the past, and is trying to reconcile those things, which we don't really fully reconcile until the end of season 2. So those are the sort of primary differences between the characters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll just go with Julie's mic.
Hello.
Yes, you, sir, in the blue shirt.
You.
Hello.
Hello.
It is my pleasure to meet you to come visit in Montreal.
Thanks.
How much time and money does it cost to make a Lord of the Rings movie?
Well, The Lord of the Rings was made over the course of 4 years, 16 months of principal photography. It was, I believe, budgeted at $300 or $400 million, which is actually not a lot by today's standards. That same film today probably would have been double that. Somewhere in the range of $200 to $300 million per film, probably. Like it would be exponentially more. But yeah, it was over the course of 4 years. I mean, there were units that never stopped shooting. The miniature units shot consistently for 4 years.
Funding is not easy.
No.
The movie received numerous awards and many positive reviews. How long it took for you to get to play the Hobbit Frodo?
To play Frodo in The Hobbit or in
You played Frodo, the other Hobbit, in the movie.
I'm sure I understand your question. You mean how long did it take for me to get to play Frodo, or?
Yes.
Word. Well, that was a whole process. I mean, it was a casting process that was very traditional, and I made an audition tape and submitted that. I mean, all in all, it was probably 6 or 7 months of sort of putting myself out to be a part of the film, and then I was cast in the movie, and then we all went down to New Zealand and started the process of making it in August of 1999.
One more question. Is there other movies based on Lord of the Rings or
Yeah,
the
there's-
Arthur
J.R.R. Tolkien?
J.R.R. Tolkien. Like, would it be new movies produced based on Lord of the Rings or the Arthur, including the Hobbit or the movie about the Arthur?
Yeah, well, there is a film, a biopic right now called Tolkien that's about J.R.R. Tolkien. I've not seen it, but I think it's out in cinemas, or it was, yeah. And then Amazon is making a long-form Lord of the Rings, not really Lord of the Rings, it's a Middle-earth series, if we're being real, about the second age of Middle-earth, and that's being made soon. I think J.A. Bayona, who directed When a Stranger Calls and The Orphanage, anyone's seen The Orphanage? The Impossible is also a great movie. So Bayona is directing the pilot, or the first 2 episodes of that series.
Are you making another movie, next movie?
I have made another movie that's actually playing at Fantasia next week. Anybody here going to Fantasia?
Never heard of that yet.
Okay, so Fantasia is one of the greatest fantastic genre film festivals in the world, right here in Montreal. And there's a movie called Come to Daddy that I was in, that a guy called Ant Timpson directed. He's an old friend from New Zealand, that we shot in Vancouver Island last year, and it's premiering in Canada at the Fantasia Festival next week.
And we are going to have to limit everyone to one mic to just one question, please.
So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I hope to see the news on your next film.
All right.
Thank you. All right, then we're going over to the man this way.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Marie-Rose and I speak French. Je vais poser la question en français.
Oui, Jean-Marc.
Allô, merci. Je voulais dire à Elijah que very good job.
Merci.
Very good job.
Merci beaucoup.
Non, mais ma question c'est quel moment que tu as aimé le plus, puis lequel moment que tu as aimé le moins, que tu as trouvé le plus difficile à jouer?
What's your favorite scene and your least favorite scene that you've acted in?
Of all time?
Of all time?
Oh,
Pas
God.
toi,
Okay. I think I
Lord
can
of
do
the
this.
Rings ou The Hobbit?
Or just, Lord of the Rings. Oh, okay. All
Lord
right.
of the Rings.
I mean, least favorite would have been something that I was very physically uncomfortable doing.
Jean-Marc, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, thank you. Oh God. Okay. There's a scene that didn't end up making it into the film in Fellowship of the Ring. We ended up reshooting it. The end of Fellowship, where Frodo leaves, gets on the boat to take off across the shore to carry on his journey, and Sam follows him. There was a version of that we shot first where I fall into the water and Sam saves me. And that water was mountain runoff. So that lake was freezing. And I was in the water for maximum amount of time, consecutively was about 45 minutes. And I didn't get hyperthermia because they never would have let that happen, of course. But I turned a shade of blue, and it took me like 2 hours to get warm again. So that's one of my least favorite. And most favorites? I don't know, man. Every day was an adventure on those films. I mean, the easiest thing that comes to mind is, you know, there's a scene where the Fellowship are traipsing on the top of a snowy mountain. So it's the bit where Frodo drops the ring and Boromir goes to pick it up. gets a little look in his eye like, oh, maybe I want that, Frodo. I'm like, no, Boromir, give me the ring. So that was shot on an actual mountaintop. We took helicopters up to a mountain, and so that stands out as one of the more epic. But that was also kind of a typical day on Lord of the Rings. We were traveling all over the place and got to see these extraordinary locations that were very, very remote, that oftentimes we would have to take a helicopter or something to get to because it wasn't just on the regular road. And that really stands out. And to get to that location, we ended up having to wait 2 to 3 days. We shot, and we ended up shooting on the 7th day, I think on the Sunday, because of weather. There was clouds and stuff that was preventing us from getting up to the top, so we ended up like fucking around looking for something to shoot, because we had nothing to shoot on the ground, and we ended up like Peter knocking on farmers' doors so we could just use their land for Frodo and Sam to do like walking shots. That is the truth. Because they were like, okay, we've got the go-ahead, let's go to the mountain.
Sorry, just imagine again. Excuse me, sir, can you march a couple of hobbits across the field? Yeah. Merci, Marios. Merci.
Merci.
And over here.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm David Bowie.
Nice.
Actually, this is so cool because you're just talking about the shooting that you're doing. I've been to Matamata in New Zealand, and I've been to the set and walking on that farmer's land, basically.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring. Like everyone is so inspired there.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you. My question is, in your life as an actor, what's been your most inspiring moment for you?
Oh my lord, these are heavy questions. Most inspiring. Sir, I've been so fortunate to have so many. Truly, it's a genuinely humbling embarrassment of riches in regards to the experiences that I've had and the people that I've been able to work with. You know, getting to work opposite Nicolas Cage in a film and have that person regard me as an equal for the time period that we're working on the movie was crazy and totally inspiring. Going to Hobbiton, certainly, and seeing that in the flesh and as a real place, not something that had to be finished in CG or made with green screens. It was physically there. It's totally awe-inspiring, and it's a testament to so many people's hard work and ingenuity. I'm constantly inspired by all of the artisans and people that I get to work with on any of these films that make these things come to life. I don't know, I suppose I could sort of rattle off so many things for hours. But yeah, those things I suppose come to mind. I don't know. I'm humbled that at 38 years of age, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I still get to do it. And it's a gift, and it's something I don't take for granted, and I hope that I can continue. Yeah.
Some of the heroes. I right now have to play a bit of the villain. We've got about 7 minutes left, so it's about time for 3 to 4 questions. So I apologize to anyone who's going to be left in line, but we're going to try to do it as quick as possible. Yes, Ash Ketchum.
Yeah, actually I'm Phil, but you can call me Ash Ketchum, that's okay. My question has 2 parts and an introduction. There is the introduction.
What did he just say? What did he just say? What? I'm sorry.
It's fine. Only 7 minutes.
It's fine.
So many years ago, you fought with Dominic Mahanigan.
Yeah.
That was the introduction, so it was pretty quick. The question is, first, how was it and why?
Okay. It was fun. I got my ass handed to me. It was fun. Why? It was for a film festival that I go to every year called Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas. And they have a thing called the Fantastic Debates, which is, instead of a traditional debate where there's 2 podiums and there's a topic and 2 people debate the topic and the winner is determined based on like the power of debate. This is that, except it's also in a boxing ring and it ends with the people boxing. For real. And so I've been kicking around like I know all the people in the festival, so they were like, do you want to do the debates? And I was like, I don't know. They're like, well, what about you and Dom? And I was like, that would be pretty fun. But the only thing I regret about it is that we didn't actually come up with a good topic to debate. It was so lame. We were like grasping at straws because we don't necessarily have a disagreement about anything. So it was the merits of World of Warcraft. I don't care about World of Warcraft because I don't like RPG games. I don't like MMOs. Like that is not my thing. But he got, I don't know, sorry buddy. But he got really into it, so I was like, why don't we just use that as a topic? It was not a very well conceived argument. Then, he beat my ass. But right before, it was funny because he was like, we gotta do this for real, you know? He's like, I'm gonna hit you, but I love you. And I was like, I'm gonna hit you, but I love you. And it was great.
Thank you.
The thing I'm really proud of, actually, that you can still see online is that particular year for Fantastic Fest, all of the debaters they did their pre-fight, goading videos, basically like trash talk videos. So everybody did that for their opponent, and they were released prior to the match. And I'm really pleased with mine. I think that my greatest achievement, if I may, is that particular video that I made with a guy called Henry Matza, who works for Avalon and Fantastic Fest, my friend Kristen Bell. So that was really fun. We had a lot of fun. I got a little tipsy. We did something pretty ridiculous. It's worth looking at.
Over here, Julie's mic.
Hello.
So, yeah, hi.
It better not be a prepared statement.
How did you feel like in the end of filming Lord of the Rings, like the end, like the ending?
How did it feel filming the end?
Yeah, like
it was really emotional. Well, true story. The last thing that I filmed in principal photography, not counting coming back and doing pickups, the very last thing I filmed, I'm pretty sure this is true, is Frodo finishing the book. So it's there back again, a Hobbit's Tale, and then it's Lord of the Rings by Frodo Baggins. And it's him finishing the book in Baggins' study. And that was the last shot that I did. And it was super emotional and charged because it's Frodo saying goodbye to the Shire, it's Frodo ending his journey, and he knows that he's going to the Undying Land. So it was just this really emotionally sort of charged moment that happened to coincide with the end of our filming as well. So yeah, it was heavy.
So, and final question, how was it filming at The Lost Witch Hunter?
That was fun. Yeah, it was fun. We had a good time.
And hopefully we have time to finish one more question.
Hello.
Hello?
No pressure.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I'm always asking myself, what's the limit between feeling the emotion and not being too much involved?
Yeah. So yeah, okay. Yeah.
Like, do you have to feel the pain to act?
I don't think so.
No.
But I think that's different for every person. I can only speak from my experience, and I think that there are certain actors that have a very different approach and have to put themselves in that place and live in that place. And some don't at all, and some kind of do a sort of mixture of both. It's kind of whatever works for each individual. For me, I feel like I leave all of that in the moment on set and then let it live there, and then I separate myself from it when I leave. So as not to bring any of that home with me, and I can just sort of exist in that space. So it's all contextual for me. It's just in that moment, within the context of working opposite the people that I am, in the sort of heat of that moment in that scene. But I don't feel like that I have to live in that space necessarily.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And enjoy your tea.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, one more question, and then we'll throw it
it's such an emotional, sad moment.
It
was a great question. It wasn't a bad question. It was a great question.
It was a great question. Let's
Not what I was
ask the
saying.
question.
Hi. Is it true in real life you did not destroy the ring?
Maybe.
I think not. You're not destroyed. You didn't destroy the ring in real life. But are you agree? Are you agree the hero on Lord of the Rings? It wasn't Frodo, but it was Sam.
Sean Astin loves that, by the way. Look, I don't disagree with that debate. I don't even think it's a debate. I don't even know if it really comes down to who's the real hero, because you could also make a huge argument for Aragorn and for Boromir for giving his life. And, I mean, oh my lord, it's filled with heroes. Between the two of them, look, Sam couldn't have done it. Sam wouldn't have been strong enough to hold the ring for that length of time. But Frodo needed Sam to get to the end. So the two are inexorably linked, and there's no way that Frodo could have finished that journey without Sam. So yeah, I suppose it depends on how you read it. In my opinion, I don't give one more than the other, because they needed each other to be able to complete the task.
But a great question.